Comrades, this is going to be a fun one, so sit back, relax, and please enjoy the video. I'm William Morrison, your British Marxist-Leninist and anti-imperialist comrade, and today we're going to be spending a whole video refuting some lies and slanders against me. I've gained quite an audience recently on Facebook, Twitter, and obviously on YouTube. Gained quite an audience, and I've gained some controversy and some support. And with that, naturally, obviously, comes hate. I have received quite a lot of hate by, just your typical haters, cancel culture mob. But I think it's funny. I think it's absolutely hilarious what is going on. There's been absolutely some hilarious slanders against me that I'd like to refute and I'd like to address, because I'm not the kind of person that just sits back and idly lets people drag my reputation to the bug. I uphold a serious tradition of Marxism-Leninism. I'm very proud to do that. And I'm not just going to sit back and watch these liberals desecrate me online. I'm a very serious comrade. I'm a dedicated and principled Marxist-Leninist and British communist. And I'm proud of that. And I don't want my legacy and my reputation dragged to the mud. So just jumping straight in, I really hope you enjoy this video. It should be fun. Pretty much me ranting at these absolute losers and morons that think it's acceptable to cancel and slander and spread misinformation campaigns against people. It's absolutely ludicrous and it's so immature. So the first one is that I'm a British patriot. They think that I'm a British patriot. I don't know why they think that. Maybe it's because I'm against Scottish independence. That view of mine is well known. I'll make a video about that in the future if you want. But I'm opposed to Scottish independence. Does that make me a British patriot? No. I am patriotic to Britain regarding two things. The British working class culture. I love British working class culture. You get your paycheck at the end of the week, you go to the pub, you have a few pints at the pub with your friends, you have a chat, you have a laugh. The TV shows, the sense of humour that the working class have here, the dark, sarcastic sense of humour. I love the sense of humour here. I mean, the Americans just don't get it. Their comedy's too literal. So we can be sarcastic and we can just run rings from the Americans. It's absolutely hilarious. That's part of working class British culture. And also I'm patriotic about the geography. I mean, there's beautiful geography in Britain. You've got the Highlands in Scotland. You've got Loch Morar, Loch Lomond, the Moray Firth. Inverness is a beautiful city. But also you have the cottages in Wales and the rural parts of England. Beautiful, beautiful. You have the White Cliffs of Dover. In America, in Scotland, you have the cleanest, freshest water in the world. That is something to be proud of. That's something I'm patriotic about. Of course, that's an amazing thing about Britain. But don't think for 1 minute that patriotism is the same as the EDL or Nigel Farage's patriotism of Britain, who want to bring back the empire, so it seems, and wants to end multiculturalism and make Britain an ethno state of white Christians. That's not what I want, and that's not patriotism at all. That's super patriotism that defends capitalism and serves capitalism. I'm the kind of patriot that just loves the people and land of my country being Britain. That is my country, and I'm patriotic about the land, the people, the culture, and yeah, I'm not proud of the history or the heritage of this country. It's disgusting what we've done. There's only 22 countries in the world that Britain hasn't invaded. There's 198 countries, and only 22 of them have not been invaded by us. That is a disgusting and embarrassing legacy that no communist would ever support, because supporting that would be upholding imperialism, colonialism, feudalism, slavery, indentured servants, these disgusting stuff. Communists cannot support that with good conscience. So I'm not a British patriot. I'm not an upholder of colonial Britain. I will explain this in a video in the future, but Scotland is not a colonial subject. We opted to join. We weren't forced or conquered by the English. I'm happy to provide a historical video proving that, because it's something that I'm really passionate about. It's the line of the CPG-BML, and I'm very proud to represent that line as a Scottish person myself who understands the history and material conditions of my country. But no, it does not make me a British patriot. Secondly, that people have accused me of being a MAGA communist and patriotic socialist. Well, let me just say that I have associated and worked with people who call themselves MAGA communists and patriotic socialists. That's the kind of person that I am. I am willing to work with absolutely anybody on certain issues. I've spoken to trans people before. People tend to know my view on transness and transgenderism. But I've had a live stream and I've brought two trans people on, and we had a productive conversation. I have my differences with lots of people who I've spoken to and worked with in the past. That is something that should be normal nowadays. But because of the hysteria of the cancel mobs, that's frowned upon now. You just have to stay in your own echo chambers and only speak to people that agree with you 100% all the time. It's nonsense. It's a race to the bottom. We are facing a liberal dystopia right now with the way they want the world to work. So I know I am the antithesis to that echo chamber. I want to speak to lots of people and I want to learn about lots of different things and who else to speak about than the experts of that field. So I'm going to work with different people. That does not make me a MAGA communist or patriotic socialist. For MAGA communism, I trust my American comrades. I am a British communist. I don't know a lot about American politics or American material conditions. I'm assuming the communists there do, and they do support, they do understand material conditions and how America works. And so, yes, I trust them. If they really think that siding and joining forces with the MAGA Trump fans is going to bring America closer to becoming a socialist country, then I'm all for it. Good luck. I wish you luck. I have my doubts, obviously, but time will tell. I mean, I have no right to judge the Americans on what they're doing. It's their responsibility. It's up to them to sort their shit out. Like it's up to me to sort affairs out in Britain. I don't expect Americans to judge me on my views on on British politics, and I'm assuming they wouldn't appreciate if I was lecturing them on American politics. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I trust my American comrades. I hope that they understand what they're doing, and I wish them all the best. As for patriotic socialism, people probably know my view on this too, but I don't know why it exists. I don't know why patriotic socialism has to exist. It's kind of like democratic socialism. Socialism is already democratic. Socialism is probably the purest form of democracy that we have on the planet in history. And like patriotism, socialism is already patriotic to an extent. I've read a book by an Irish comrade called To the Movement. It has about 50 or 60 pages of quotes by famous Marxist-Leninist philosophers and revolutionaries that rejected national nihilism and said we should not be nihilistic to our country. We should not burn our own flags. We should champion the working class around that national flag because that is who the people identify as. People do whether we like it or not, people do identify nationally. People have national identities. Like here in Britain, people who support Scottish independence say they're Scottish. But there are Scottish people in Scotland that say that they're British, like me, because we don't want Scotland to be independent. It doesn't make us a patriotic socialist. So I don't understand why patriotic socialism exists. Socialism already is, to an extent, fairly patriotic, and it should be, and that's why I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. I want British workers to own British means of production, and I want Britain to be a socialist federative republic. That's what I'm doing here. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's my goal. Third lie that these liberal losers are spreading about me is that I am a conservative. I'm afraid I'm not. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I hate this bourgeois, artificially made binary between progressives versus conservatives. It's absolute fucking bullshit. I guess I'm socially and culturally conservative on some things, but I'm also culturally and socially progressive on some things. It doesn't make any difference to me. I'm a communist at the end of the day. I'm a materialist. I follow dialectical and historical materialism as an analytical tool to understand the world. I have a dialectical view of history. I understand that history is always getting pushed forward, and I understand these very basic Marxian understanding. So how any other communist who also has the same understanding as me can think that I am a conservative because I happen to be against the woke agenda, and I have my questions regarding transness, of course, and I've talked to trans people about this before, and I was educated quite well, and it was a productive conversation. But I still have reservations for certain things. Of course I do, and I'm also against sex work. I'm not a fan of sex work. The sex industry. The existence of porn is disgusting. How children have access to porn within seconds on their phones. It's disgusting. This hedonism and debauchery and hookup culture and casual sex. I'm not all for it. I'm not going to force people to stop. I'm not going to judge other people for it. It's not personally my thing. I'm in a very serious relationship with my girlfriend, almost 3 years now. We've been together. I'm fairly settled and I'm happy in that long-term relationship. That's the kind of relationship that I want. I kind of like the traditional relationship. I like the fact that men are protective and provide, and gentlemen. That traditional idea of what a man is. I'm all for that, and I think that's a good positive thing. I'm not sure about the toxic masculinity. So, if thinking about that kind of stuff makes me a conservative, then what do these haters have to say about the fact that, on the other hand, as a communist, I absolutely am against the marginalization, discrimination, and oppression of any marginalized group on the planet. I want human rights for everyone. I think that human rights should be guaranteed for everyone. I think everybody should have the right to feel safe, to be fed, to be looked after, to have free education, to have free healthcare, to be properly looked after by the government. Everybody, regardless of who they are. As an individual, if you're a human being, or even if you're not, if animals, I support animal rights. I fucking love dogs. Everyone knows I love dogs. I don't know who doesn't love dogs. I'd give them free healthcare. I don't know why we have to pay for vets, but in Britain we get free healthcare as people. I think we should have free vets too. I think animals should be looked after too by the government for free. I'm quite progressive on that. I hate sexism. I hate racism. I hate discrimination of any form. Does that make me progressive? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Labeling me conservative, labeling me progressive, it's stupid. I'm a communist. I have bits of both, and that's fine, all right? That's okay. As long as at the core of my being, I'm following the analytical tool of dialectical and historical materialism. I understand it, and I use that to help me go forward. And that's all that really matters. I'm sick and tired of this labeling and discrediting and dragging people through the mud. It's absolute nonsense. Second of all, apparently I am middle class. Apparently I'm middle class. I don't know why they think that I'm middle class. Maybe it's the accent. I have quite a posh Scottish accent. I don't think I do, actually. I just have a very weak Scottish accent. I have the kind of Scottish accent that you don't really know what part of Scotland I'm from. A lot of people assume that I'm from Edinburgh because of the accent I have. I'm not. I live in Dundee, and I've been brought up in Dundee, and that's the accent. But because I don't speak in a dialect, I don't really speak in slang. I speak the Queen's English, I guess. I say words how they're properly pronounced and how they're supposed to be pronounced. I'm very clear and concise in the way I talk, and I'm proud of that. It doesn't make me posh. It doesn't make me middle class. I am extremely working class. I was brought up in the housing schemes of Dundee. Anybody who knows Scotland and the housing schemes, it's an absolute dive. There's graffiti, there's crime, addiction, there's a deep disrespect and distrust to the authorities, smashed up windows, there's crime, there's robberies, drug addicts lying on the floor. This is the reality for housing schemes in Scotland. It's a decaying society, Scotland. It's really, really bad. And I was raised in that kind of situation. I was raised to have to fear gangs and being stabbed and being beaten or being mugged. I lived in fear of that here in Scotland. Things are bad, all right? That's the kind of situation that I was born in. I'm certainly not middle class. I come from an extremely working class background. My mum worked for the NHS during the pandemic. My father was a baker in a supermarket. Those are the professions of my parents, and I'm proud of that. Because they are both extremely working class jobs. They work very hard for what they do. And I'm proud of that. And yeah, I'm not middle class. My family isn't middle class. There's not a single rich person in my family, I don't think. If there is, then I'd accept the payment, but there is none. We are very working class. I mean, I live in a 2-bedroom flat right now. I pay like £400 a month. Have to do that all by myself. I'm extremely working class. I'm not middle class at all. I live in an absolute shithole of a flat in a very dirty part of the city. This is not something I'm proud of. But it is a part of who I am. It's a part of my working class background, and that I am proud of. Also, that people have started accusing me that my parents are paying me to go to university. They're paying my tuition for me. Let me just say, you absolute morons. Scotland have free tuition fees. Scottish university students don't have to pay tuition fees. We get our tuition fees paid for. If you just apply to SAS or the student loans, you can get it paid for. I don't have not loans. Loans is you have to pay back, but if you just apply for SAS, which is a form of benefit, if you fill in the form and you're eligible, you can receive free tuition fees. Like if I didn't have that, I would have to pay about £10,000 for the 4 years at university I'm going to be at right now. I don't have to pay for that because I applied for SAS, and because I'm working class, I was eligible to get a full maximum payment. So I'm my main source of income right now is from university and from university grants, and I'm also receiving a scholarship. So even if I didn't have that, even if I did have to pay for my university, I won a scholarship because of how good I am. I got 5 unconditional offers for 5 different courses, and I also won the competition for a scholarship. So I would be fine anyway. Nothing to do with your class. And in fact, I want to be a role model for working class people. And I want more working class people to get into university. And I want to be a role model for them that you can do it. People like me have managed. There are more and more working class people getting into university. And that's a great thing. But no, my parents are certainly not paying for me to go through university. I'm funding this all by myself through grants, and I've applied for things myself. And obviously the scholarship I rightfully won. That's what's getting me through university. Certainly not getting any financial help from my parents. And the last lie thing that I want to address is that, oh, well, I must be bourgeois. I must be middle class because I drink whiskey. People think that whiskey is a middle class drink. Let me just ask you, back in the 1800s and the early 1900s, what were the people who were drinking whiskey? They were working class people. Kids sometimes, back in the Victorian England. The history of whiskey. Even in America, you have the Bourbon Rebellion, I think it was called, or the Whiskey Rebellion. I think it was the Bourbon Rebellion, where you rebelled, and the working class people rebelled for the right to have safe licensing for bourbon. So it wasn't moonshine, it wasn't off license, it wasn't dangerous, it wasn't watered down and diluted. The Bourbon Rebellion was actually one of the first federal acts of the new founding fathers of the creation of the United States, the Bourbon Act. I don't know what year it was, but I remember learning about that. And, it was one of the first, and that was a working class movement. That was working class people were saying, hey, whoa, you're fucking up all of our bourbon. We want our bourbon strong. We want to get drunk off of this. This is good ass bourbon. We're not going to let the government not give us a license or let these criminals bootleg us and stuff. They fought for it. Working class people. There's such a strong working class background with whiskey. Whiskey is a working class drink. If you watch Peaky Blinders, I think most people have watched Peaky Blinders right now. The Birmingham family business, Arthur and Thomas Shelby and stuff like that. They were all sipping whiskey. They were a working class family, hardworking. They're working class. They were all sipping on whiskey. They were all drunk on whiskey all the time. It's extremely working class. I guess in recent years it has been bourgeoisified, I guess, if that's a word. But no, it doesn't make me, and also the bourbon the whiskey that I drink, I say whiskey, but I'm not a fan of Scotch, so I do tend to drink bourbon. The kind of whiskey that I drink is budget whiskey. It's budget bourbon. It's not expensive stuff. Buffalo Trace, Maker's Mark, Wild Turkey, 1776. I don't really have a lot now around, but a Howler Head is also a good banana flavoured bourbon. But yeah, I'm a big bourbon fan. These bottles range from maybe £30 to £50 a bottle. That might sound like a lot, but that honestly just is how much whiskey is, and that's fine. Whiskey is my hobby. Collecting bottles of whiskey and drinking whiskey, it is my hobby. It's my pastime. It's what I like doing. Like my mother, is a big fan of ice hockey. And it's one of her only hobbies. So that's obviously what she spends the most energy, most effort, and most money on. So if I do have any money left over at the end of the month, which is not often, but if I do, then yeah, I might go out and buy myself a bottle of whiskey. But even if I do, it will not be expensive. It'll be like £50. I simply cannot afford expensive whiskey. And I wouldn't like to anyway. I don't see the point in spending £2,000 on a Macallan 25 sherry cask when Macallan 18s are pretty good too. I drink the whiskies that I like, and thankfully for my taste buds, it seems to be the cheaper, harsher stuff. So I guess I'm lucky in that regard. But no, just because people drink whiskey does not mean that they're rich or middle class or bourgeois. If you actually research the history of whiskey, it's extremely ingrained and embedded in working class culture and working class history. you don't know what you're talking about. It just shows that these people, these wreckers, don't know me. They do not know me. They've guessed, they've fabricated absolute nonsense. They don't know anything about me whatsoever. It's an absolute disgrace what they're doing. So I just want to end this video by saying that if you have any questions, if you want to ask me any questions at all, personal or political, please just ask me. Just ask me. I'm an honest and open person. I will be happy to answer your questions as honestly and as openly as I possibly can. That's the kind of person that I am. So if you see something online about me and you're wondering if it's true, just reach out to me. I'm on Twitter. There's a comment section of this video, and there's also Facebook. Just reach out to me. Ask me personally. I will be honest and open with you. I always am. I'm a very honest person. And I'm a kind of an open book. You get what you see. This is who I am. This is not an act on YouTube. This is just who I am. I'm a bit weird. I'm a bit quirky. I'm a bit odd. And I love that. You know, that's just who I am. So that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed me. I don't even know what this was, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Please come back for the next video, and obviously, please subscribe and tell your friends about who I am and get them to subscribe too. Thank you very much.